Seeing that you're new in the beginning of your podcasting journey, in both the relatively binary, hapo karibu inipate, and the lead series podcast. What's some of the surprising feedback you've gotten from the community that you're building?
I think once you experience the impact, because for me, I always looked at it from the point of view of, okay, just how impactful is this?
Iggy, unaonaje?
With the power that content creators have, because you influence. Bobby atakuja aseme hii Coca-Cola hapa, mimi kesho naenda kubuy Coca-Cola.
Look, I'm introducing this, but you need that
to
use this.
I love it.
And that's what they do.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Lead Series podcast. I'm your host today, Cheryl. It's been a minute since we've been here. Since we sat in this hot seat. So today's episode is going to be, let me say, a bit more friendly. Today we are joined actually by the CEO, founder of this cutting edge studio where you guys always see us recording our episodes, the Grayspace studios. And I feel like it has made so much impact, especially for us as the Lead series. And honestly, I am humbled and grateful that you have been able to allow me to actually interview you today, and so that we can just know more about the face behind the Grayspace studios, how it's happened, how the thought process happened, how you felt like this is something you want to do, especially in the podcasting and the creative space. So karibu sana. I just want you to introduce yourself because I feel like I won't do him enough justice.
Thanks. Humbled, Sherry. That's a nice way to start a podcast.
Yeah.
So, my name's Atoba Sayuaki. Obviously, for the small community who we've been building for a while now. First of all, a co-host of the Lead series. So this is very intriguing.
Yeah.
Just exploring these dynamics of a co-host of the Lead series. Obviously, the custodian of Grayspace Studios. And just together with this lovely team, which we also happened to be a part of, in charge of trying to redefine the podcast space here in our parent organization and also in the country in general.
Okay, so for me, I'd just like to know, how did this thought come across? When did you feel like you actually want to dive into the podcasting and basically just the creative space? What inspired this journey into coming up with Grayspace Studios?
Yeah, so if I can take you back a little bit, I started interacting with podcasts in 2011.
Oh.
Yeah, in 2011. I know at that time.
At that time, I was children.
So I started interacting with podcasts in 2011. And if I'm being honest, it started a very dark period in my life. I was still trying to figure out some stuff, as many people do, especially when they've just finished school. And I think why I got really attracted to it is because, first of all, I'm a very introverted person, despite what you hear out there. I'm a very introverted person. Yeah. So I felt like podcasts were an opportunity for me to kind of just be part of conversations. And, being somebody who, first of all, as I've said, I was a bit introverted, and then there's obviously the fact that you finished school, you're trying to figure out what's next. So sometimes that process, becomes a bit frustrating and isolating. Yeah. So what podcasts did for me was just gave me an opportunity to be part of every sort of conversation and just see how people were engaging outside of like defined institutions or structures like school and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got really inspired by it. Took me through some very dark times because I would listen to a lot of self-help and mental awareness sort of podcasts. And actually, they played a very big part in defining my career as an ICT person because I'd listen to a lot of experts just talk about what their journey looked like. And then that's how I kind of just got into it and felt as if with the knowledge that I had, because remember in 2011, 2012, it really wasn't a thing. In fact,
it really wasn't, even if I can think about it.
Yeah.
In 2012, 2011, I think mostly what was, let me say, hot then was maybe vlogs.
Yeah, vlogs and stuff.
And
I actually had to use SoundCloud. I don't know how many people are even aware. I used
the
to
OGs.
use...
At least I know something about SoundCloud.
Yes. So basically, I would have to download like an episode and then now listen to it in my free time. But it was an interesting time, so I fell in love with that process from there. And since then, I wanted to take part in it. Not just for myself, but for people with similar interests who maybe didn't know how to kind of engage and build from there.
And you've mentioned you're an introvert. So was it, let me say, scary? Or rather, what actually motivated you to actually, dive into a space which most people then didn't actually know about?
Yeah. I think once you experience the impact, because for me, I always looked at it from the point of view of, okay, just how impactful is this for me? How is it shaping and kind of guiding my adulthood? And once I saw how it was able to help me in real time, I just felt like I had a responsibility, to figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, at that time, being that it's a new sort of industry, till today, by the way,
Yes.
you kind of had to figure out your voice and exactly how you want to portray it. And so, yes, I was shy a lot. I'm still shy till today. But when you start looking at, okay, who's the next Thomas, who's the next Cheryl, and how can I be able to, just share my insights, knowledge, and experience to be able to kind of guide them, then it just becomes this easy process for you. Yeah.
So I believe now having your own studio gives you a sort of creative freedom. So how has that shaped you from the person you were in 2011 till the person that you are today?
Yeah.
How has that level of creative freedom and the type of quality and quantity or amount of content that you're able to produce, how has that helped you with having your own studio?
So, first of all, the freedom has been immense.
Yeah.
And to just show you how immense it has been, so when I decided I wanted to do a podcast, I sat down and created a few concepts here and there, and basically workshopped them in different different studios and quotes, because I was going to radio stations and stuff and just trying to figure out, okay, are you guys interested in doing podcasting? Funny enough, and I went to a few. I'll not tell you which ones because it's our chomea, but I went to a few and they just didn't understand the concept of podcasting at all. And it got to a point where, so the few that I would get who would understand what I'm talking about would want to kind of micromanage it and make it a radio show.
Yeah, true.
Which was never the intention.
Yeah.
So, so it just got to a point where I became frustrated completely. And I was like, okay, so if this industry is not ready, then instead of trying to convince people, let me just build it on my own. And then I can be able to kind of define the space based on what I believe it should be and the experiences that I have. So going to your question where, we talk about freedom and stuff, it's been big. It's been big, it's been immense, because we've been given time to kind of, just create in an organic and more importantly, efficient manner. Because I think some of the discussions I've had with you around just the importance of really figuring out what you want to see and believing in just the impact that you can be able to create. Sometimes it's very difficult when you're working in somebody else's studio or somebody else's production company.
Yeah, you're very limited.
Yeah, it's very limited. I would go to meetings and people are like, you're doing ICT for Development podcast. I don't think that one people would want to listen
True,
to.
true, yes.
Yeah.
I remember when you were starting off and you were having that discussion. That was kind of the big thing. Like they were like, no, people want to hear about relationships. Hizi mavitu za dunia, nini. Then you're like, no, you want to take a different route on it.
That's not my thing.
Yeah, so why not?
Yeah. And by the way, we had a lot of arguments. I remember, no, make sure that, you always have like controversial and hot takes. I'm like, but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
I don't believe in just, in the content creation space, it's called shock joking, where you just create hot takes for the sake of interactions and stuff. I believe in real conversations and organic ones at that.
Yeah.
So I used to have a lot of arguments around that. And I think what the studio has been able to do for us as a collective, because I always have to think about, there's what I know I'm a custodian of, and then there's what you guys here, the technical team and content creation team are in charge of. So what it has done for us is just given us an opportunity to kind of create and give it time to kind of mature.
Yeah, you just need time.
Yeah, you can have an idea, but the process that goes into just actualizing it and actually shooting, that takes a lot of time. But with the space and the team that we have, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. It's not been as consistent as we'd want to, because for those of you who are listening, we have jobs.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to
play around with it.
Yeah, play around with time. But so far, it's been the most fulfilling thing that I've done in my adult life.
And I think what you've just mentioned actually about having jobs and just outside now, not normal day-to-day lives. What are some of the challenges you faced with you running the production studio? Because I know sometimes you even write the scripts. You start all the way from the pre-production till the very end to the post-production. Also having a job while also being a co-host at that. What are some of the challenges you faced?
I think at the top of those challenges is just time management.
Time management?
Time management is such a crucial component, because even within a studio, when it comes to co-hosting a podcast, writing scripts, figuring out some creative and marketing stuff that you want to do, engaging with staff members. I mean, that's the other thing, people who are figuring out what to do in terms of setting up a studio. You have to get the team dynamics right. And it doesn't start and stop at hiring. You have to continuously, just instill values and thought processes that, benefit the creative process. So all of that just boils down to, okay, how much time as a leader and as a team member are you putting towards ensuring that the goal that you had envisioned when you are alone in the bedroom is being actualized. So being able to put that together is a little bit tricky. And then the other thing that people don't talk about a lot is just the commerce side of all of this.
Oh, yeah.
I think one thing that I learned from some of the people that mentored me virtually is that this creative process comes hand in hand with commerce. So what I mean by that is just the investment that you make in terms of, even outside of the normal stuff that the equipment and stuff, the investment that you make in terms of creating awareness about content that you're doing, engaging with people, because by the funny enough, even if you want to interview somebody and you have good intentions, you really have to cater for their time.
Yeah, true.
All of that. So
it also boils back to what you said about time management. Actually.
Yeah. So you have to really be good at time management, which is something that we're still learning even as we speak now. And more importantly, especially for startups, you have to create a balance between the artistic side of content creation and commerce. And once you kind of start figuring out how those two spaces correlate, the challenges will still be there, but you'll be better at dealing with them.
So what have you learned from all those challenges?
This is a 24-hour, 365 days a year.
There's no break.
There's no break. There's no, I don't feel like creating content today.
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing a podcast today.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So for those of you who are kind of interested in going into this space, I think there was one analogy I had from one of the local podcasters that kind of resonates with me till today. You know, a podcast is just like any other TV show. It's just like any other radio show. There's no difference in terms of the amount of time that you put into it. So it can't be a hobby, and it can't be something that you do only when you're in a good mood or if you're feeling creative. It's something that you commit to basically your entire life.
Can you say it's like a lifestyle?
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. So you have to consistently think about just how you want to make your podcast better, some of the topics you want to do, and just how well you want to kind of distribute it across all of these different DSPs.
How do you usually get into your creative zone?
Silence is key for me.
Silence?
Yeah, silence is key for me because it gives me time to kind of just think widely about stuff that I want to kind of engage with. And then just working with you guys.
Yeah.
Working with you guys. The fact that we are all from different sort of backgrounds, different sort of headsets, if I'm being honest. This inspires me to kind of try and understand like what's happening. Okay, how can I provoke this sort of discussion? Because some of these things I don't know. Even within the space of ICT for development, or even in the case of relatively binary, where we talk of pop culture, I'm not as exposed as I would want to be.
Yeah.
But that's the art of having like truthful conversations, is that you can be, you know, confident enough in your ability to have a real conversation by taking a step back and let somebody else carry it moving forward. So I think, just silence for me is usually key, or time alone to kind of think about stuff that I want to do. And then when the time is right, coming back to the team and figuring out together how best we can be able to engage with what it is we want to talk about.
That's awesome. Because also with all this that even Tom is talking about, like also us, it's all about having a good support system, honestly. Having a good support system from the technical to the production team to it's just everybody. And I feel like also this is something we also trained people on when we had the Build Your Own Podcast workshops. We did this for about 2 years running. It was a free workshop, by the way, for about 5 days straight, where people would come in, we'd train them all the way on how to start your own podcast from the jump till the technical part. I believe it was so fun, actually. The ladies had a good time. They had at the very end of this workshop, we brought our equipment all the way to where the workshop was being held. And these people actually felt the real experience of actually building your own podcast. And most of them currently, they're still actually, you know, going on with the journey and in their podcast. And, you know, actually, it's not very easy, from what Tom is telling us, having a podcast and a studio.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
And again, just before you kind of move forward, I think what I loved about that program is the fact that you know, we decided to focus it on you know, the women content creators.
Yes, exactly, women.
And it's a difficult space. Speaking as an outsider, just being a female content creator is very, very difficult because everything you say is scrutinized a little bit extra.
Yes.
And the type of scrutiny that we see sometimes is even uncalled for, because you can have an intellectual take, but the way it's taken can be all the way from muni mjinga elewi to body shaming.
Yes.
So just being able to kind of participate, obviously through your leadership and guidance, being able to kind of participate in those workshops and also just hear from them about some of the barriers that they are facing in the creative process, and figuring out with them together just how to kind of go about it and still remain as confident and as forward-thinking with their vision, I think was something that was very fulfilling.
Yeah, and it was quite fun, actually, if I may say so myself. It was quite entertaining.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people have heard you mention relatively binary. Able to try say that 3 times quickly?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I created. So relatively binary, relatively binary, relatively binary.
Miss Wiz.
Yeah.
Yan kisema. So that's one of the podcasts that you're in. Those are some of the I want you to actually explain to our listeners actually the podcast that you're in, the genre, what they're about, so that even they can go and subscribe to those and listen to those podcasts.
Yeah. So right now we have 2 podcasts that are contracted to Grayspace. The first one is a lead series, which we are doing now. And our goal is just to have inspiring ICT for development stories, or create ICT for development stories that women and youth can be able to listen to and use to kind of forge their path within the space of technology. And then for Relatively Binary is just a unique look at pop culture, where we focus more on just celebrating the positive side of the stuff that we love. The African space from the point of view of pop culture is very big, it's very wide, and it's very vast. And we just felt that as a team, we needed to kind of, spend a lot of time just celebrating it rather than, trying to look for, what many people would term as controversial topics.
Yeah.
So, I love doing the two podcasts. I think they're very unique in their own way. Very young, by the way, because I think on both of them, we're just approaching, I think, the 12th or 15th episodes on both of them. Yeah, but amazing shows, amazing takes, a lot of celebratory and just showcasing of love for what's happening out there. And I think that, to me, is what podcasting should be. Yeah.
So, given that you're relatively new and at the beginning of
I've
your
seen
journey,
what you've done there, by the way.
you see what I've done. If you get it,
Yeah.
So, seeing that you're new in the beginning of your podcasting journey, in both the Relatively Binary, my tongue,
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult.
And the Lead Series podcast.
Yeah.
What's some of the surprising feedback you've gotten from the community that you're building?
I think that there are two things that I experienced recently. So with the Lead Series, we had the privilege, especially towards the end of last year, of just talking to some really enthusiastic experts. And so I felt we did very, very well.
Yeah, I agree.
With those episodes. But there's only so much you can self-inflate yourself.
Yeah.
But when I realized that, by the way, we're starting to really, tap into this niche audience that we were thinking about at the beginning. I think we went, early this year, we went to Naivasha. Yeah. And so there are like 2 or 3 guys there, 2 professors there, and then there was another person that we worked with before. They were like, "Hey, Kwani, what happened to the episodes? You guys were doing so well." And then you just, you took a break, but we're waiting for something. We're waiting for something from you guys. And I just felt like, for somebody, sometimes it doesn't have to be, you're amazing and you're inspiring me to do X,
but the
Y,
fact
and
that
Z.
someone is actually waiting.
It's like, Kwani, what's happening, Manzama? I thought you had already established some sort of rhythm, but take us back to where we were. So I felt that was very, it was inspiring, and at the same time, it was like, hey, man, you need to up your game a little bit. So there was that, and then just the comments we've been getting. I think the most grounding comment that you can get is just that, these are authentic conversations. I feel like I'm really learning from this particular process, and that's for Lead Series. And for RB, is just people really, especially on the audio side and even on social media, just people really kind of, engaging and feeling as if they're talking to their friends more than anything else. Again, as I've said, going back to what I talked about at the very beginning, for an introvert to feel as if they're suddenly being, encouraged to converse and coexist in spaces where people actually want to hear what you're saying, I think it's amazing.
I think it also takes a lot from your side mentally, because sometimes you may get positive feedback, but also you may also get negative feedback.
For sure.
So how do you also deal with the negative feedback, especially for your mental health?
I think for me, what I've always just grounded myself in is, as long as there are no insults, I would always take it. positively.
Yeah.
If there are insults involved in the feedback, then I just tend to look at it as people not being articulate enough. I think we've learned a lot in our program work that we do within and outside the studio. That if somebody is truly frustrated, or if somebody is truly critical of something that you're doing with the view to make it better, then there's no need to hurl any sort of insults or anything of that sort. So I always tend to kind of just sieve and say, okay, so what's the critique that's out there? How can we get better? And 9 times out of 10, some of the things that people are sharing are actually very critical to the development of these different shows. Because as much as they might not maybe express it in the way that you feel comfortable, as long as it's about the show,
you should
and
just
your
take it
ability to kind
positively.
of build it, then you take it positively. So I always just make sure that I separate between the two. Okay, is this constructive criticism? Is it actually something that I can, internalize and share with the team, whether it's from a technical perspective, where we have our videographer, sound engineer, a creative process, all of these different things. And so that's how I kind of deal with everything.
I agree with that, because I feel like so many people take the negative side so hard, especially for someone's mental health and mental state. So the way that you take it, I feel like it also helps in you grounding yourself and also helping you not to have let's say, quote unquote, a creative block. I'm sure it happens sometimes, the creative block. So I feel like it's very inspiring.
And at the end of the day, for me, when you've benefited from the space, when it has actually changed your life in the way that podcasting changed mine, nothing can really, there's no comment or there's no scenario that can really stop you on your tracks. Because as we're even doing it, as we're even doing this now, I'm already thinking about, okay, I know there's somebody who's just finished campus, who's thinking about, okay, I want to start a podcast. I want to do something. I want to have some conversation with people who actually inspire me. And so when you start looking at it from that point of view, those comments are they're just about improving your show or your content in general, and then building from there.
Okay, and what's your take on the podcasting space, not just nationally here in Kenya, but on a global landscape? How do you feel like, is it growing? Is it stagnant? How in your own perspective, in your own opinion?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Where we are today, for me, I think we're mainly in a positive space. I'll be very, very honest. I think the industry has grown exponentially. I think stats have been quoted around, I think there are around 8 million podcasts.
Oh, really?
Is it 8 million? No. I think it's around, it's not 8 million. Let me not overquote. I think we're at around 800,000 unique podcasts, different listings. And
is that nationally or?
No, on a global landscape.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you look at it from the point of view of growth, I think that shows a lot of interest in going into the space. And also on the financial side, I mean, I've seen some of the deals that people have been signing, I mean, from $10 to $20 million all the way to $150 million. So I'm glad to see that, the money side of it is coming in, because, that's how ecosystems such as Grayspace Studio kind of get to grow. Yeah, so I love what I'm seeing on the global landscape. And even here in Kenya, I'm seeing a lot of interest from the corporate space.
Sure.
In the industry itself, I'm seeing a lot of ad revenue being shared.
Yeah.
So I think as an industry, it's doing very, very well. On the creative side, there's always room for improvement.
I agree.
I love that people are niching down.
Yeah.
But I think the concern is always with some of the different areas that people decide to anchor or pivot their content. There's a negative element to it. I think we can't run away from that.
That's true.
I've seen a lot of stuff that personally I feel is a bit toxic. I know you've engaged with, or you've been exposed to things to do with the manosphere, relationship wars, gender wars.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's some weird stuff going on in the space for sure. But I choose to just focus on the positive.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the internet and content creation, is that I can just curate my stuff and live and thrive within that specific space. Obviously, there's the one or two reel or video where you hear somebody being out of pocket for like a minute or two. But all in all, I still think it's trending in a positive direction. I love the fact that commerce is really, introducing itself into this creative space.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep on, building and keep on developing content that I believe spark real conversations, I think will be okay. The technological aspect, I think, is also something that's very, very interesting. AI is kind of redefining a lot of stuff. From a technical perspective, it's even, fast tracking the production cycle and stuff. I use AI a lot to kind of streamline and develop different narratives and storylines around podcasting.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting time, an interesting industry. Love the fact that finance is coming in, so that's always cool to experience. And let's see what the next decade will look like for us.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd just like to encourage anyone, like, there's space for everyone. Don't feel like the space is too imeja sana. Bado jaja. There's space for each and every single person who wants to get into the creative side and even the podcasting space. Even here at Grayspace Studios, we have space.
Yeah.
You seen what I'm doing there?
I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm seeing what you're doing, yeah.
So as we, finalize and as we end, sadly, so what kind of impact do you want Grayspace Studios legacy to have? What kind of legacy do you want Grayspace Studios to have, especially in the podcasting and the creative side? Especially, let's start with here nationally. What kind of legacy would you want Grayspace Studios to have?
I think at the end of the day, I just want it to be a platform fit for creators. That's what I want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Not everyone is as charismatic in the first glance. People figure out how to kind of not only exist in the space but thrive long term, in whatever it is done to do. So it's a process. And I think in creating this, what I wanted is just an environment where even the most shy and the most introverted person who has an idea and is willing to put in the time and effort to kind of actualize has the space to do so. I would want that to be the legacy, because I keep going back to the first time I decided I wanted to do podcasting. And I'm telling you, those meetings were difficult.
Yeah.
They are difficult. To go somewhere, there's this tendency that people have of, just shutting down something without really giving somebody time to kind of, flesh out its context. And so you'd go to meetings, and first of all, I think there was one I went to where I was supposed to meet a studio manager. So the guy last minute decides, I'm not available. Meet with, I think it was an intern or something. So I'm like, okay, doesn't really make a difference to me. Intern, studio manager, videographer, you're in the content space ecosystem.
So you will definitely understand what I'm trying to bring up across.
Boss, 2 minutes into the conversation, I don't think a tech podcast can work. So you're like, okay, why do you think it can't work? Then, Kenyans are not interested with issues to do to tech. I'm like, boss, you're speaking to somebody who's in the middle of a tech career, so how does that work? No. As we have the data. So I think that conversation for me, as unpleasant as it was, really made me kind of define what Grayspace needs to be. Just a space where we give people time, we give people the attention that they need to kind of figure out how they want to present the idea and kind of build on the type of content they want to engage with. And that's it. If we can be that for anybody, regardless of whether you're an existing celebrity or somebody who's at the beginning of the creative space, we'll have done our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like here at Grayspace, we are very, for lack of a better word, let me say kind. Because we feel like everybody's ideas is different. What you think is not the same thing that I'll think. What someone's creative path is may not be the same as us. Because starting a tech podcast is not easy, especially seeing as what I've said before, like most people are into the relationship things, the drama things, but starting into that different space, I feel like it has Grayspace lead series relatively binary.
It's difficult.
It's quite difficult. It's just they're all making a difference in their own space.
And the best thing is that we get to and this is an homage to you guys in the creative space, our technical team, and just everybody who's involved. I think our job is just to create, consume as much information and knowledge and insights about how to do this as humanly possible. And then when somebody comes in, we're like, okay, interested in doing a podcast, this is what you need.
Yeah.
You get
So we give the guide.
Yeah. And it has worked for us. I mean, in the first 2 months, we were training 70 women, 70 unique women content creators. And I really felt as if we inspired them to kind of take that next step. So not a lot of startups get to do that.
Yeah.
And, still thrive 2, 3, 4 years later. We're still talking about creating content, about, providing these services at an elite level. And, still enjoying the process more than anything else. So that's the legacy I'd want to kind of leave. And just even long after we are gone and there's somebody else carrying this flag, that's what we'd want to see them kind of championing moving forward.
Yeah. It's only up from here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Only up from here.
Only up. Yeah.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us, Tom. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
The work that you're doing at Grayspace is amazing. Guys, you can follow us on all our social media handles. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you.